In this lesson, we'll be talking about digits and place value and doing a quick review of the concept. So, how many digits are there in the universe? There are actually just 10 digits in the universe. Those are the digits 0 through 9. This is a bit of a trick question. Most people, when they first hear this, they think there's an infinite number of digits, but there's really just 10 digits. There's an infinite number of numbers. So, what is the relationship between numbers and digits? You can think of it like this. Numbers, the relationship between numbers and digits is the same as the relationship between words and letters. So, for example, the word cat is, it's a word for an animal, and it's made up of 3 letters. Similarly, 1789 is a number that is made up of 4 digits. You also need to know when dealing with digits what is meant by units digit, tens digit, millions digit, etc., and so on. When you have a number like, let's say, 285, this is a 3-digit number, and the digits are 2, 8, and 5. And in order to understand what this number is, you have to know the place value of each number. In other words, what the 2 means, what the 8 means, what the 5 means. The 2 tells us how many hundreds there are. There are 2 hundreds. The 8 tells us how many tens there are. There are 8 tens in this number. And the 5 tells us how many ones there are, or units. Hence, that is the units digit. So in 285, the 2 is the hundreds place. The 8 is in the tens place. The 5 is in the ones place, sometimes called the units place. So there are various ways that that digits are tested on the test. So let's take a look at some of the typical questions you might see. For example, you might see a question like this. So why don't you pause the video, try the question, and then we'll take a look at this together. The question reads, if x and y represent digits in the addition problem below, what is the value of x minus y? So again, these are digits in this problem here. And then once we find the digits, we want to find the difference of those 2 digits, what x minus y is. A good way to do questions like this when you have these unknown digits. This is an unknown digits problem. When you're given a question where they give you variables for the digits or they don't tell you what the digits are, is to set out dashes and then test out cases. So we know that we're dealing with a two-digit number up top that's 40 something, and a 2-digit number at the bottom that ends in a 7. We know that when we add these, we wind up with 85. Starting with the units digit, so that place value, ask yourself, what number plus 7 gives me 5? Well, there's no number plus 7 that gives you 5, but 8 plus 7 gives you 15. And so if we put an 8 over here, we would get a 5 in the units digit and carry this 1 over here. And then you ask yourself, okay, so once again, now we have an 8 in the tens digit, and we want to think about what number do we need so that when we add 1 to 4 and get 5, and then add to this mystery number, we get 8. So 5 plus what gives us 8, and it turns out that it's 3. So does that make sense? Is 40, let's just double check, is 48 plus 37 equal to 85? 8 plus 7 is 15, carry the 1, 1 plus 4 plus 3 is 8. So in this case, the x value is 8, and the y value, what do we have here? The y value equals 3. So x minus y is the difference of these two, or 5. Answer choice C. take a look at another question. So pause this, give it a shot, and then unpause when you're ready. So the question reads, if the two-digit number a is less than 50, and the digits of a add up to 8, what is the largest possible value of a? Again, when you're dealing with a question that tests you on unknown digits, or it's a question where you're not told what the digits are, you're usually going to wind up subbing in numbers or picking numbers. And a good way to keep track of what you're doing is just to make dashes for the place values and put in the numbers there. So we know we're dealing with a two-digit number. We know it's less than 50. And the digits add up to 8. So what are some possibilities? The smallest thing that you can put in a two-digit number is a 1. So a two-digit number is 10 and above. And then if the digits add up to 8, 1 plus what gives us 8? Well, that's 17. So what's another possibility? We can have a 2 in the tens digit, a 6 in the units. We can have a 3 and a 5. We can have a 4 and a 4. Now, we could go up to 5 and a 3, but remember, we're dealing with numbers less than 50. So this doesn't work. In fact, these are all of our possibilities. And we're looking for the largest possible value of a, so that's 44. So the answer to this one is 44. And let's take a look at one more question. The question here reads, if n is, well, pause it, take a look at it, and then when you think about it, unpause it, and we'll go through it together. Okay, so the question is, if n is an odd number, and the tens digit of n plus 9 is 7, then what is the tens digit of n? Again, we're dealing with unknown digits, and whenever you're dealing with unknown digits, or questions dealing with unknown digits, make dashes for the place values and sub in. Generally, this is the best way to go through these questions. So we're not told how many digits n is. We're told that it's odd. We're told about its tens digit. So it has at least a tens digit and a units digit. This is all that we know about n so far. We also know it's odd, so that tells us something about the units digit. We'll come back to that in a second. Basically, that means the units digit has to end in a 1, 3, 5, or 7, or 9. A number that's like 72, for example, is not odd. 73 is. So one way to think about odd and even numbers is that even numbers, here I'll do it here in red, even numbers end in 0, 2, 4, 6, or 8, and odd numbers end in 1, 3, 5, 7, or 9. We'll cover even and odd in later lectures in a bit more depth, or in a lot more depth. So here we are told that n is odd, and the tens digit of n plus 9. So that means we're going to be adding a 9 over here. Is 7. That means we get a number that looks something like this. So we have our initial unknown number here. We add 9, and then we get a number that has 7 something. Now there could be other digits. So it could be a 3-digit, 4-digit, but they don't tell us anything about that. So we'll just focus on the tens digit. In a question like this, instead of just picking randomly, let's ask ourselves, what's the maximum and minimum possibilities for our result? Well, if we know that we have end in that our result when we add 9, we get 70 something. The smallest possible value for a result is 70. In which case, this would have to be 61, because 61 plus 9 gives us 70. And the other possibility, when we add 9, again, we know that we end in 70 something. The biggest possibility is 79, so this would have to be 70. So it would seem that n is anything between 61, and 70, or it's from 61 to 70. 61, 62, 63. But remember, it's odd. That means we get rid of all of the odd possibilities, including 70. So what we're left with is 61, 63, 65, 67, and 69. In all of those cases, the tens digit is 6. So the answer here is 6.